Awesome. So we are live now, I guess. Okay.
Cool. All right. So we're living on Zoom, but are we live on YouTube and LinkedIn yet?
We are live on YouTube. Yes.
Perfect.
Awesome. Let me check the LinkedIn. Okay.
Excellent. So far, so good, right? I think we're live on
So
YouTube.
far,
I'm going to
so
check
good.
LinkedIn right now to speak.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, why don't you check LinkedIn, Denny? I think I'm still waiting for the URL. But there you go. Awesome. Everybody who is joining, we are just getting started. Hi, everyone. Abhijit, Rahela from Italy. I am from San Francisco. We are joining from all different places. So why don't you put down where you are joining from, and then we will start with introducing our panelists. Great. And for any questions related to Delta, these are Delta Lake community office hours. So we encourage you to ask questions on open source Delta Lake. It can be whether the questions about the feature release that we did recently or what is coming up in the roadmap. So with that, I will kick it off with introduction to the panelists. We have Scott, Wenky, and Denny, the contributors of Delta Lake OSS. So why don't we start with Scott? Scott, why didn't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Vinny. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you're from. I'm Scott. I'm on the Delta Lake ecosystem team here at Databricks. And what I've been working on recently is a variety of open source features for Delta Lake, as well as expanding the connector ecosystem. So for the former, one exciting feature I worked on recently was open sourcing column stats generation and data skipping. So that's a big boost to read performance. And I'm sure that in the next release 1.2, people are really going to enjoy that. And for the connector ecosystem, we are working on releasing the Delta Flink sync, and we're actively working on developing the Delta Flink source. And that's all really exciting. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Venki, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Vinny. I'm Venki, and I'm also part of the Delta ecosystem team at Databricks. I've been working on some parts in the connector related work with the Delta, and also improving the Delta Lake project. So recently I worked on file compaction feature, and also some improvements to the restoring a Delta table to earlier snapshots. And some bugs here and there around fixing some bugs. And on the connector ecosystem side, I worked on like the Presto Delta Lake integration, also like the Trino and Delta Lake integration. So those are available now in the respect to Trino and Delta Presto projects. And future, like I'll planning to work on improving the file compaction to capture the partial progress, and also adding the Z ordering so that like the queries will be faster. Yep, and looking forward to like reviewing any pull request or like any code any issues that you post on the Delta Lake projects. Thanks.
That's exciting, Venki. Already questions are coming through for you. Great to hear. So we will get to that, but let's get Denny's introduction. Denny, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks very much, Vinny. Hi, everybody. My name is Denny. I'm a developer advocate here at Databricks, longtime Spark and Delta Lake guy. So I'm here to answer any of those Delta Lake questions. But I figure with Scott and Venki here, I probably won't be needed that much today. So hopefully that stays true.
I think we need a little bit of everything from the panel, Denny. So thank you. Awesome. Yeah, hi everybody. I am Vinny Jaiswal, developer advocate at Databricks, and I'm excited to get started with our questions. So let me start with the question on Trino. So the question is, Trino launched Delta Connector. Will Trino be able to leverage optimization done on data, Z-order, and Bloom filter while reading?
So, the optimization are like two components, like the file compaction and Z-ordering. So the file compaction, it should be able to make use of it because it's independent of like, I mean, you just like compacting the small files into a bigger file. So the planner should be able to read like less metadata and able to like prune more depending on how the data is laid out. For the Z-ordering, I am still investigating like how much work is needed, and also like how to implement in the Delta Lake. So I mean, when we implement like the Z-order in Delta Lake, we are also planning to look at to see like how Trino and other projects can make use of that. So I don't have exact answer now, but like stay tuned for this one. Like so, we'll soon have a Jira issue in the project and have the details.
Yeah, your work slate seems so busy, Venki, with all these requests. Be ready for putting more exciting, yeah, getting more community more excited about it. Thank you. All right, so let's take a question from YouTube. Are we planning file skipping without Z-ordering at the time being? I'll repeat the question. Are we planning file skipping without Z-ordering at the time being?
Yep, that's what's already been added to the master branch of Delta Lake, and that's what will be included in 1.2. But of course, adding Z-ordering will make file skipping that much better. But the first version is out right now.
Awesome, thanks, Scott. And for those who want to have a link on the roadmap, we just released the data skipping, as Scott mentioned. In Q2, we will be working on Z-ordering. So I'll put the link in the chat. All right, next question is, will the upcoming DynamoDB log store work with DynamoDB compatible alternatives like SkylaDB? SkylaDB. I don't think I have heard of that.
I think I can take that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Scott.
I'm the one working with open source contributor on that, so it's a good question for me. That is a great question. So currently it won't. Currently we are hard coding this just to work with DynamoDB, and not just because this is our first attempt at solving this problem. But what we've done in our solution is, I don't know, one relevant implementation detail is there's a specific class that interacts with all of our metadata and interacts with all of our cloud stores. It's called a log store. And what we've done is we've abstracted away the whole problem of interacting with a cloud store that doesn't give you mutual exclusion, which is one example is S3. And so what we've done is we've implemented one version, which does use DynamoDB, and that's our first version, but it's completely open-ended. And there can definitely be other implementations that use any other key value store, any other external locking store as a solution. So if this is something you're interested in, file an issue and we can chat, and it'd also be great if you'd like to work on it together with us.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to Scott's point is don't forget this. The reason why the DynamoDB log store is required is because we do need a lock store as opposed to a log store in this particular case, due to the fact that S3 is missing the put if apps and consistency issues. And so this is not applicable to, not applicable to Azure or Google Cloud Storage. There are rumors that this will be eventually fixed as well within S3, but because there are, including the community member that Scott's currently working with, they've actually been running this type of system in production for a while now. So it's pretty cool. So basically Scott's been working very closely with that team to make sure that it's applicable and more generic for many other use cases that are also using S3. So just want to add that little tidbit in.
Awesome. That's amazing information, Scott and Denny. Thank you. Next question is, what are the plans for Delta Rust and Python binding library? I'm wondering if there's a way to retrieve the files for different disjoint partitions in parallel. Denny,
okay. Yeah, so, okay, what are the plans? Let me answer the first part. That one I can probably answer. The second part, I'm not entirely sure, honestly. So the first part is what are the plans for the Delta Rust? So right now, the key plans for Delta Rust right now is to take the writing that's actually already in production for the last 3 or 4 months as part of the Kafka Delta Ingest project and bring it back into Delta Rust. Kafka Delta Ingest is, well, as the name sounds, is for Kafka to write directly to Delta Lake. And actually, it happens to be utilizing the Rust API to do that, but it's actually a subclass or subset of classes that are part of Kafka Delta Ingest. Now they're moving those classes back up to, well, actually more like crates and modules, up to Delta Rust itself in order to be able to go do that. So right now, the primary focus is to get that part done first. And there's actually a couple of PRs already open for that. Now, related to that, because you did ask specifically about Python bindings, the Python bindings actually would be shortly after that part is done. And so right now, there are already Python bindings that work with Delta Rust for the purpose of read. So as soon as the write is done, then the Python bindings will be working on top of that afterwards. So I believe the target was around Q2 timeframe, but the best thing for us to do specifically would be to go ahead and join the Delta user Slack. There's actually a Delta Rust channel that you can go ahead and chime in and ask your questions there. And so we can probably provide a lot more details. And that actually leads to the second question you just asked, which is about the partitions, things of that nature. Honestly, I think that's still up in the air in terms of those specific details. And I would advise joining the Delta user Slack, again, Delta Rust channel. It's literally #Delta-RS. And all of us are there to answer your questions specifically on that. So hopefully that does answer your questions.
It does. Thank you, Denny. There's a question about is Optimize available with Delta OSS now? So I think it's a part of it. That I would say file skipping is available. But Scott or Venki, do you want to answer? Provide any further comment on it?
Sure. So the optimized file compaction is available on the master, but it's not yet released. So it will be released soon in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you. And then
I did want to add, sorry, Venki's downplaying all the amazing work that him and the other team members have worked on. It's actually really exciting, the fact that we have that Optimize is being brought in to Delta OSS. So do want to call that. There's going to be a bunch of blogs and, for a matter, the community emails we have here right now, specifically for us to go into some of the details. But I think Venki's being a little humble.
Modest.
Yes.
Modest.
Thank you. That's the right word. Thank you very much, Vinny. He's being a little modest about how cool of a project that that particular feature is. So hats off to the team to get this out as already with Delta 1.2. So
thank you. Yeah, that's an amazing feature. I think it was like over a year requested feature. So thank you for finally releasing it like soon. All right, next question is, how do you see the focus on and the future of using manifest files with the connectors that we are releasing? I know this is a very broad question, but yeah, just in your own your own thought leadership, how would you describe it? Yeah, this question can be for anybody.
Yeah, so I can talk from the
Venki,
Presto and Trino point of view. So the manifest-based approach, it has like a disadvantage, right? Like, I mean, it's like mainly from maintenance point of view, like you can't keep the manifest for each partition in sync whenever you make any updates to the table. So that's a reason like why we developed like the Presto DB and Trino DB native connectors, so that you can just rely on the Delta log as the source of truth, and the user doesn't have to data engineer doesn't have to worry about like doing an extra work of generating the manifest and everything. So don't know the future. I mean, there may be still some use cases that may need the manifest based approach, but for in cases like where the maintenance is like a burden, like especially like Presto and Trino DB cases, like we are trying to get around that and try to use the Delta log directly.
Awesome. Thanks, Venki. Yeah, that answers this question. And then next question is, any plans on enabling tagging the objects on Delta Lake. Can we use S3 life policy with tags to clean up inactive files or objects?
I'm going to take a stab at it unless you want to take a stab at it first, Scott.
All you.
Okay. All right, cool. So the concern with using the S3 lifecycle policy is that it actually would not be interacting with the Delta Lake transaction log. So you wouldn't be actually able to ensure consistency of the data, right? So especially from a transaction perspective, right? If you think about what an S3 lifecycle tag for lifecycle policy, it can automatically delete files, right? Based if they're too old. But the problem is that it's not actually interacting with the Delta Lake transaction log to determine if those files that are maybe old, but they're still valid for the purpose of the data that you're trying to query for sake of argument, because you've decided to keep really old history of the data, or for that matter, it was all inserts and there was no updates. So it's perfectly fine that you've got data that's 2 years old, but still valid because you want data, you want to query your table from 2 years ago, right? So there are discussions, nowhere concrete yet in terms of, is there a way to intermix by the saying, could you tag with the S3 lifecycle policy, but then also interact with the transaction log somehow? But that's still not a, remember when you talk about the S3 lifecycle policy, it's just simply a tag that just says, go delete the files that have been tagged. So it's going to be a lot more complicated than just simply saying, okay, let's tag anything that's old. So long story short, it's not that simple. And maybe we can make use of like lifecycle policies with metadata, but even then, this is not a simple thing to solve, long story short.
Got it. Anybody else also has any thoughts around it that you would like to add, Scott or Venki?
I would always just like to know what people's use cases are. You know, if this is a feature someone wants, I'd be curious to learn about why they want it. What's missing from the Delta protocol and Delta Lake that you want this, and it'd be great just to talk and learn more about the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and you know, for those joining and interested, like it's always helpful, like for our team when we are brainstorming on what to build. It's helpful to understand the use cases, and like, you know, there are different industries where you're trying to solve different problems. So thank you. Another question is, all right, one second. Is there any plan to enable explain plan of merge, that is Delta table merge with data frame or data set?
I'm a little confused on this one, honestly, because if you're talking about explain plan in terms of Spark, there would already be it. Like the logical plan would be generated within Spark and you can go read it. Is the context within maybe perhaps some other system? Because I mean, Delta, from the standpoint of what it is, it's a file system, right? I mean, storage layer. So it has the metadata to do that, but whatever's actually running the queries themselves, well, that's the one that would do the planning. And so Spark itself would actually already show the plan. So I apologize, but maybe I'm missing something, or guys, I don't know, maybe am I missing something in the context here?
There was recently one issue on the open source. I think the user wants to like build the merge command and then call the explain so that he can see the physical plan. So currently that is not available. So I believe that's what the question is about. Regarding the plans, when that will be available, I mean, I'm not sure about that, but like if that is one that you want more, feel free to like put your comments on the Jira, the GitHub issue, so we can prioritize that.
Yeah. So Rajendra, if you can provide more context, Venki and Denny are here to help you support. So we'll look forward to providing more context. Thank you. Next question is, that will be, auto optimize is known best for streaming loads, but what would be the bottlenecks when used with batch workloads? Should I repeat the question?
I think it's basically like one of the benefits of like auto optimize. Like if you have like if you are inserting small files, like which is the case like in the streaming, it helps to like compact like as soon as they come. So in those cases, like it helps. So in the batch cases, it depends on like what type, what size of files the batch job is generating. If you have the similar situation, then auto optimize may help.
Got it. Thank you. I think there is a kind of a feature request question. The question is, will there be a direct Delta table or Parquet to Grafana integration in the future? I do understand that the plug, it may be up to Grafana team to develop the plugin, but is there any considerations in the future for this type of connector?
Honestly, I would create a GitHub issue for something like this and get votes from the community, right? So because that would basically tell both the Delta Lake community and, for that matter, the Grafana community that this is something that's that we should all work on together, right? So just to provide a little context, all the issues that you see in the roadmap that we pasted into both the LinkedIn and YouTube channel, right, for the Delta Lake roadmap, this is all based off of Slack messages or GitHub issues. And of course the Delta Lake group, Google group. So we're getting tons of feedback from the community based on all of these features. And so that's actually how we prioritized what we have here. So it's not to say that we're not interested in Grafana. It's more a matter of like, candidly, at least personally, I don't think we've been asked that question until now. And so I would definitely chime in and add an issue in GitHub, or for that matter, in the Delta user Slack, and just see if you can get other people involved with that. And then that would definitely allow both the Grafana teams and the Delta Lake teams to say, yes, maybe we should go work on this together. So,
yeah. And we can provide you different channels to get started with our team, with our open source community to build the connector. All right. Are there plans to make? Okay, I'm not sure about this question, but I'm going to read it anyway. Are there any plans to make vacuum have no effect on CDF logs? Change data feed logs. The context is, we would like to delete old files, but keep the change feed for data auditing purposes.
okay.
So I think
I'm probably
it's more of.
Yeah, I'm probably going to fumble this a little bit, but I'm going to give it a try anyways.
Okay.
So first things first, change data feed has been added to the Delta Lake roadmap. We've had a lot of feedback. Okay, so we're targeting around Q2, Q3 timeframe for this one. So we haven't really dug in deep in terms of how we're going to be implementing it, right? But we have some pretty good ideas and designs, but yeah, so just I want to call that out first. Now, related to that, the change data feed itself would contain pretty much any changes. Basically, there's a delta table that contains the deltas, pun intended, of your table. Okay, and so every single insert, update, whatever you're doing, basically is recorded in this table. So if you're running a vacuum on the change data feed, in essence, what you're doing is you're removing any reference to the fact that the change occurred. And so I guess I sort of need to understand a little bit better, is there maybe a context that I'm missing, or maybe because in the end, the change, like running a vacuum on the table itself, in essence, the snapshot table or the static table makes sense because you're saying, I don't want the history anymore, but the change data feed itself would actually contain every single change. And that's sort of the point of CDF. So I get, unless I'm missing something, and it's possible, by the way, so I apologize if I'm missing the context here.
But I think that you provided a little bit more context, Denny. So that's helpful. Yeah, on how they can go about doing auditing and working with CDF. So if you have any follow-up for whoever asked the question, please use Slack and we can provide more details. So thank you all. I think before we leave, there are a lot of questions. So it's amazing to see how much engagement you provided through our live event, and we will get through all the questions. We will try to do it. I have one more announcement. So, all right, ready for this? We now have a Delta Lake LinkedIn home now. So please follow and share with your network. This is the URL linkedin.com, company Delta Lake. We really appreciate your support and being here with us, always showing the support by by asking questions. And thank you to the panelists who answered all the questions in like a very detailed manner. So thank you all. Any closing thoughts?
Just want to say thank you everybody for asking questions. Sorry if we haven't chimed in. But so join us on exactly what Vinny's called out, the Delta Lake LinkedIn, and of course the Delta user Slack channel where we're all super active as well. So
awesome. Thank you. See you.
Bye, everyone.